started doing was taking belly dancing. I found this lady online. I just loved her. I dare not say her name because I am going to F it all up. But she's amazing, and she wears these, I would, lack for a better term, call them a muumuu, but they don't call them muumuus, they call them something else. A caftan, maybe? Okay. But she wears these, and then she ties a scarf around her waist, and she just be moving her hips. I'm like, gosh. And it's not for anything sexual. Maybe it's sensual, but it's not for anything but, it feels good to move it feels good to move my body in ways that are that you see. Can't be nobody else. A goddess that's me. What you see is what you get. You ain't seen nothing yet. Guarantee sure bet. Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to More with V. Unleash your inner badass. I'm your host, V, your favorite life doula, bonus mom, intuitive coach, and sacred mirror, reminding you are both fire and flow. And today we're talking about something that's been rising in the collective consciousness and in each of us, the sacred feminine. She's rising, y'all. The divine within, the soft power, the intuition, the creation, the compassion. And truth be told, she never left. She was just buried under centuries of conditioning that told us softness was weakness, emotion was irrational, and intuition was untrustworthy. But she's stirring again. And this episode is an invitation, a remembrance to reclaim her. Don't get it twisted. It's not to say the divine masculine is not important. As more men are remembering their divinity, us spiritual girlies are able to be in our divine feminine so easily and effortlessly. So, why was she silenced? Let's take a deep breath together. Well, because this in part might hit deep. The sacred feminine, the divine energy of creation, intuition, before we were even born. Patriarchy didn't just suppress women, it suppressed feminine energy itself in men, in women, in everyone, because the divine feminine is a part of us all. We each have both a divine masculine and a divine feminine side, or an unsupported, wounded feminine, an unsupported, wounded masculine. So we were taught to fear our emotions, to hide our softness, to push when our bodies wanted to rest. We were taught productivity over presence, logic over intuition, and control over flow. So let's reflect. Ask yourself, where have I been taught that being soft makes me weak? Where have I silenced my emotions to be seen as strong? Just for example, for doing this episode, normally I wear a lot of makeup. And when I say a lot of makeup, okay. Normally I wear makeup on the show. And today I was feeling like I don't really want to wear any makeup today. I just want to be in my fullness of my divine feminine. I realized that, part of the reason why you wear makeup is because whenever you're under lights, it does kind of wash you out. But, that's either here or there. So I did a little light makeup because I really enjoyed it. But it got me to thinking about all the messages that we're sent about women that wear makeup, women that don't wear makeup. It's better when you're natural. But then when you're natural, they say, oh, that's too natural. And then it's always this game of be the thing that they're wanting, be the sensual, sexual being, but don't be it too much. Speak your voice, use your words, advocate for yourself, but don't be too loud. Oh, and don't speak too much. There's always an end but, right? So, you know, there's so many times when, we have ignored our body's wisdom to keep hustling or downplayed, our intuition to seem, logical. So, but what did it cost us? What did it, what did it cost us? What did I gain from listening to my inner knowing again? So previously I mentioned how I tore my ACL. Like I fell at the waterfall and I'll tell you what led up to that injury. We were visiting one of my favorite spaces and communities in Costa Rica. And it's where I have met some of the most beautiful people there. And the land, oh my gosh, when you step on the land, it just, you feel home. You feel like, I feel you, Mother Gaia. I feel your support. I feel your nourishment. And, I just love this place and this space. So they mentioned taking a hike to a waterfall. And I was like, yes! I hadn't been to a waterfall to that point, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was super excited. Until they showed us where the waterfall was at. So we walk over, so we're walking, and I'm like, oh, where's the waterfall? Like, we're walking, and then they go, oh, it's down there. Well, people, they pointed to this hillside. So you had to climb down this hillside and basically into a ravine, down into a lower level of land, and then you still walk into the waterfall. Just looking down the hill, I was like, what? So the choice was given to stay and help in the kitchen or go on this walk. Well, once I walked over and looked over the hill down to where we needed to walk and couldn't still see the waterfall. Like you can't see the waterfall from there. And then just looking where we needed to go, my initial thought was, oh, hell fuck no. No, we're not going down there. And it was louder than the still small voice that I'm used to of my ego. So it sounded like my ego, which I figured out later, saying, no, you can do it. You've lost weight. You're more capable. My ego was like, yes. But my next thought was, no, you can do it. You've lost weight. You're more capable. You've been walking more. You've been exercising. You've been really like, you can do it. But then I heard again, nope, don't take your ass down there. I thought the voice that was really clear and succinct and yet not as quiet as normal was my ego. And the other that was telling me to go was my sacred feminine higher self. Well, my intuition was trying to lead me to the best option, but I downplayed it. And I learned a few lessons that day. So I learned to hear the voice of God, my sacred feminine self versus my ego. So I had a wonderful sister friend. She was like, after I fell and all the things happened, and then I had to climb my ass back up the hill in the ravine with my broke ass knee. It was, when I tell you, it was like, but in that moment, I learned, like I said, I learned a few things. I learned, man, you're a badass. And we don't need to do these kind of things to prove that we're a badass. Thank you so much. And I learned to pause and follow my intuition. I learned to differentiate between this is my ego voice and this is my sacred feminine self voice. And I learned, and like I said, the voice of God, right? So God is very simple, clear, clean. So the one that was telling me, hell fuck no, that was God. God was like, no, don't take your ass down there. You don't need to do that. You don't need to prove anything to yourself. You just stay right here in the kitchen with mama and some other amazing beings and let them go and do that, right? But no, my ego was like hyping me up. Yes, you can do it, girl. Go. So what it cost me was getting injured. But even in an injury, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about what like I said, what I'm made of. I learned so much about, the balance between resting and pushing myself, the balance between nurturing myself and self-care and just balls to the walls, let's go, right? So, when it came time to leave Costa Rica, I could have made the same choice. I could have listened to the logic and my ego and disregard my intuition. I clearly heard I didn't need to earn favor from God, let alone from people or even from myself. I have nothing to prove to myself. I've already proven it time and time again. How did I get there? But what was happening was I was going through this, thinking, but I thought this was my family. I thought this is where I was supposed to be. I thought this was my, forever home base, because I always knew that wherever I landed in life, it's a home base, because I love to travel. I want to travel. I want to go and do all the things. But I could have listened to that. But that was my ego trying to get me not to listen to my intuition and to God, who was telling me, you did really well. You took the leap. You did a lot. You did what most people won't do. You basically, in 30 days, I sold, gave away, or put everything that was left in storage that I had. And I took off and went to Costa Rica because I knew this was a part of my purpose. God was showing me at the time that is what I was supposed to be doing, that this is where I needed to be, until I wasn't. And my time was up. And though I was trying to make my time extended, God kept showing me, baby girl, it's time to move on. So grace is free. I was born magnificent and with an ordained path. I chose before I even came. I had learned to listen to my intuition, how God speaks to me, in me, and through me. And it led me to the love of my life and the manifestation of more of my dreams than I could have even imagined. So the sacred feminine is not loud. She whispers. The whispers sometimes louder than you expect, but those whispers, they are truth. They are the heartbeat of creation itself. So how can we reclaim this power now that we've remembered why she was silent? Let's talk about how we can bring her home. Embodiment. The sacred feminine lives in our body, not in our minds. And so often we're conditioned out of moving our bodies. We are told, we gotta work and we gotta stand or sit in one spot for 8 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours in a day, that we are so disconnected from our womb spaces, from our sacral, we are so disconnected from what our body is saying, which is why it has to amp up when it's trying to communicate with us, and it gives us pain and dis-ease and all kinds of things, because that we will pay attention to. We didn't pay attention to the still smallness of, I'm feeling like I need a nap. I feel like I could use some extra rest. Ooh, I feel like I want a treat, whatever, So let's remember to dance and stretch and breathe, and let your hips remember they were made for creation, not control, and move in ways that make you feel alive, not performative. So one thing that I started doing was taking belly dancing. I found this lady online. I just loved her. She's I forget where she's from. I think she lives in California, but I dare not say her name because I am going to F it all up. But she's amazing, and she wears these, I would, lack for a better term, call them a muumuu, but they don't call them muumuus, they call them something else. A caftan, maybe? Okay. But she wears these, and then she ties a scarf around her waist, and she just be moving her hips. I'm like, how does she do that? And it's not for anything sexual. Maybe it's sensual, but it's not for anything but it feels good to move my hips. It feels good to move my body in ways that are freeing. But so often women have been hypersexualized, over-sexualized. Well, hyper is over. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I want to be able to move my body in a variety of ways. And I even went to this, I think it's called a stretch zone, and where it's like assistive stretching. So you're stretching, but they are assisting you with stretching even deeper, right? And they have like 3 levels of it, and it's amazing. I went there and I had like an intro session, and I'm going back and I bought a package for like a month or something like that. And I'm gonna go and I got stretched one time, and I just felt, my body felt so much better. And our bodies hold so much of our trauma and tension, which is why there's parts of us that are in pain, there's parts of us that ache, there's parts of us that have some kind of disease going on in that part of our body. So yeah, it's really allowing us to be connected into our bodies and loving our bodies just the way that they are. So often we're trying to get into a different body, whether we're trying to be thinner, or they're trying to be more curvy, where we're trying to be, something other than what we are right now in this moment. And I know I have struggled with that over the entirety of my life. And this paper, I tell you, I need to move you. It's in the way and I keep hitting it. And you think I would move it, but I digress. Anyway, I just love the fact that, yeah, my body may not be exactly where or I want it to be. And it's still my body. It's still the vessel that I have right now. This is the God-given vessel that I'm given. And I love her. I love it. I love my body. And as often as I possibly can, I connect with my body. Touch your body. Touch your face. Feel yourself. Hug yourself. And just take that time with yourself. Another way is breath work. I often, especially on this show, you see that we breathe a lot. But when you breathe with intention, you awaken the energy that's been dormant. And that's the same thing about moving your body. You awaken energy that is wanting to move, that's in your body trapped. Those emotions, that trauma, it's in there. Move your body, move your womb, move your hips, get that loose. It's so tight because it's trapped trauma. So, and then of course, add your breath. So we're going to try this, everybody. Just feel where you're sitting right now, or standing, or driving, whatever you're doing. And just inhale. And when you inhale, you're going to say, I receive. And then when you exhale, you say, I release. I love to exhale with a sound. So if you're doing it, inhale, receive, and exhale. I release. And do that as many times. Like, that can be something you can do, especially as busy moms. There's times where even before I speak, sometimes I have to take a deep breath because patience is being tested to the brink of somebody's not going to make it out of this. So I take a deep breath. I just go, because I realize I need the regulation. That little child is fine over there, but I need the regulation. So, okay, I take a deep breath. What were you asking me? What do you need? But if you feel that, when you feel that, that is her. That's your sacred divine feminine. And last but not least, pleasure as prayer. Okay, get your mind out of the gutters, people. Get it out of the gutters. Because pleasure is not always sexual, though it can be. It is really more about sensory, a sacred gateway into joy. So pleasure could be lighting a candle, feeling the sunlight on your skin, listening to music as you do something that's not so pleasurable. Like, you have to clean up. Well, light some candles. Turn on the music, your favorite music. I used to love how when we were growing up in the Bronx, every Saturday, in my home, and all the Puerto Rican homes that I knew of, all the ethnic homes that I knew of, whether you were, Jamaican from the islands or anything. They would get up early. They would do whatever they needed to do, drink their coffee, whatever. Turn on that music. Once you heard that music, you knew. If you were still asleep, you need to get up because it's time to clean the house, do whatever, and then we would clean the house, and then that night there'd be a party, like celebration, right? But cleaning, most of us don't like cleaning. I mean, there's some people that do, but I'm not one of them. I'm not one of those people that loves like putting away the laundry. So I'll do the laundry, I'll fold the laundry, even that sometimes is a gray area. But putting it away, oh my gosh, washing dishes, not really my favorite thing. But what I do to bring more pleasure to myself is I play my favorite music. I put on my Affirmation Avengers playlist or one of my other myriad of Spotify playlists that I have. I turn them on and I do my things to it, right? One thing I started doing was eating something slowly and gratefully. Like I came up where everything was fast, fast, fast. Like we talk fast. I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx, right? So, we talk fast because nobody got time for you to be meandering around. Get it out, say the things, okay? All right, thank you so much. And, we're eating quick because we're on the go. We're eating as we're walking to the train station, and I want to eat because I don't want to eat on the train, so I want to eat as I'm getting there. So, right? What I started doing was I realized I still ate fast. And it was like I think one big reason I ate fast is so I could get away from the people that I was with. So basically I would eat fast. So, okay, I'm all done. Bye, see you later. So what I started doing now is eating something slowly and savoring the taste, savoring the flavors. And I mean, even before this, I had turned into such a foodie, especially since I've been traveling and all around the world and doing things. So now savoring the flavor of food is so amazing. And that's how I know that the food here in the United States is crap. And they are really trying to kill us. Yeah, I was going to say, because, people don't like when you say that. Like, it's the kill part. So, unalive? Yeah. They're trying to unalive us with the food. Because when I was in Costa Rica, that food, like, the fruit tasted like fruit. So you wanted to savor it because you're like, this is yummy. The mangoes, the avocados. So, anyway. Yes, but eat something slowly and gratefully. But do you see, like, you can bring yourself pleasure in any moment. And it doesn't have to be sexual. It can be other than that. And it's not to exclude that. It's just that it doesn't have to be that. So pleasure reminds the body it's safe to be alive, to be in joy, to be happy. And there's a level of freedom in that as well. So another thing is honoring cycles. You are not meant to be the same every day. We are not meant to get up, I drink coffee, and I go to work for 8 hours. I come home, I drink, I grab me a glass of wine, I watch my show for an hour, and then I take a bath or whatever and go to bed. We're not meant to be, we're not creatures of routine. Maybe habit, but we like habit because it makes us feel safe. The unknown drives us nuts. It drives our ego nuts, I should say. But we're not meant to be this every day the same shit, different day. That is not how we're meant to experience life. That's not why we came here. We didn't come down to this planet just to do the same thing every day. Like the moon, okay? Whether you believe that it's a satellite or whatever you think about it, it is a impacting factor on this plane. So the moon waxes and wanes, the tides rise and fall, and so do you. So honor your seasons, There's doing seasons, there's resting seasons, there's creative seasons, Rest is not laziness, it is sacred restoration. Because during the time that you are resting, your body gets to rejuvenate itself. It gets to heal. It gets to recalibrate, right? So we're in a season now. We are in a season where It's time to get ready to hunker down for the winter season. So it's a season of resting that is coming up. But we are taught to disregard the season. Doesn't matter what's going on. Go, go, go. Do, do, do. And if you're not doing it, if you're not ready January 1st to hit the ground and go, then you are, washed up. If you're not getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and doing all the things, then, no. There's a season for doing. There is a time for productivity. There is a time for resting. There's a time for to be creative. And when you work how you work, life goes so much better. And I started doing that. Like, for example, I started noticing that right now in the season of my life, my sleep is a little interesting. So I just allow it to be wherever it is. But I'm noticing it's wanting to get into its own rhythm. Okay, I'm going with the rhythm. Gonna go with the rhythm. So I'm sleeping so I'm going through my day. I'm getting up sometimes at 5:30ish in the morning, and then I'm doing hair, and then I'm marinating. Sometimes I go back to sleep. Sometimes I stay up with my partner and just veg out, talk, get ready for the day. Then sometimes I go back to sleep until the alarm goes off to wake up my son, and then wake him up. Sometimes I go back to sleep. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I stay up and wait for him to get off to the school bus. Off to the school bus, I make the beds, and then often I'll get back in bed, go to sleep, wake up about whenever, usually a couple hours, and then start my day. But by 5, 6, 7 o'clock, in that range, that 2-hour block, my energy is like, I'm ready to go back to sleep for the night. I'm done. My energy is like, why are you still awake, right? And, now that I've started really listening to my body when I'm needing the supplements that I'm needing, or I have a drink that I make for myself that I take, that boosts me, in the morning to my breakfast drink. And then I've noticed that, that shifted a little bit, but the hour, it's not so much 5 to 7 now, it's 7 to 9. So in that range, I'm sleepy time. So in honoring that, why would I now want to start cooking a full meal during the time that I am meow? No. So what I did is I cooked the meal when I was still high energy, still awake, still able to do all the things. Yeah. Was it 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Yep. Well, meal got done, and it got done with joy. It got done with not stress, because now I'm not trying to make sure that things are done by this time and this, it changed so much. So I'm honoring the season of life that I'm in right now. And it was just so much better for me. So time for some reflection. Ask yourself, where am I still dimming my sacred feminine energy to be acceptable? And what would it look like to lead from intuition instead of fear? So often we have been kind of domesticated out of trusting our gut. Sometimes, things will come up, and in your intuition, it's oh, do this. And you're oh, nah, I don't need to do that. That doesn't make any sense. But, you see later on, oh, I see why I was supposed to do that. So, for example, for me, I was in Costa Rica, and I was going to get together with some sisters that I just loved, and we were going to spend the day at the beach. And I was they were grab all the things. The last thing before I walked out the door was grab a flashlight. Well, it's but a crack in the morning. I don't need a freaking flashlight. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to be back by blah, 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 blah. Well, we go to the beach. We're heading back to the base camp there, back to our village. The car breaks down, and we end up getting it, pushing it to the side of the road, and we end up walking. And funny enough, we end up back where we started when we first got in Costa Rica at the resort where we first landed. And we get there, they don't have any power, and it starts to get dark. And I go, ding! This is why you said bring the flashlight, because it would have been really handy right now. But if I had listened to my intuition, so that day I learned, even when I get those one-off weird things that I'm like, that makes no sense. What do I need to do? I need to put you in my bag. What needs to happen? So I learned that day. But also I learned, like, in my business and even in my personal, how to pivot and setting relationship boundaries and just having like creative breakthroughs. So I know I've previously mentioned what was going on when I was faced with leaving Costa Rica. You know, there was a time, like, I was leading, I was supporting, I was attending all the classes, I was doing all the things. And yet I was getting messages that the mission was headed in a different direction than how it started and what was being stated. So I was getting the messages, you know, that it's headed off the rails. And, you know, the messages were frequent, they were loud, and it was warning me. And I love that God always gives me a heads up throughout my whole journey in Costa Rica and otherwise. I always get a heads up. It may be days, it could be weeks, it could be months in advance, but I always get a heads up. I never know the duration, nor do I need to know. I just need to follow my intuition, follow what I'm hearing. And it was warning me, like I said. And I and another member were told we could assist with getting it back on track. And we brought it up in our own ways, and we did the work within, because of course what you see without is what's going on within. So you need to clean it up over here, and then it will change externally. And, you know, we did that work, and we did the work also without to contribute to being the change we wanted to see. So fast forward almost 3 years later, and I had the strong feeling like I was in a toxic relationship. And then came a situation that was the catalyst for me leaving Costa Rica. And I could have stayed and figured things out. My intuition was leading me in a different direction. Remember, I said I learned how to hear God's voice, and I don't necessarily need to understand it. I don't necessarily need to know all the things. I just need to know that my intuition is telling me this, my ego is telling me this, and what am I choosing to listen to in this moment? So it didn't make sense to me when I was made promises that, you know, I had lived in an amazing house not too far from a beach in Costa Rica that I loved. I loved the house. I loved the area. I just loved everything about the little oasis where it was. And I was promised that this would be mine. And I was making plans on how to do the things with it. Okay, what did I want to do with this part of it? And what was I planning to do? But I had to leave that space. And I was like, but I thought you said this was going to be mine. And they were like, we didn't say no. So I also knew that from the moment I stepped off that plane, that Costa Rica felt like home. The first time in my life I felt home. And, you know, I was like, none of this makes sense with the promises that you had told me about Costa Rica, you know. And, you know, during this process, I and the other member got opposition. We were told we were sabotaging the mission, we were off base, we were backstabbers, etc., 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 right? And yet, now the group is in the full fruition of what I was being shown. What we saw, in the sense that they've gone back into dogma and away from the mission that was set forth and the way that it was set forth and the energy that they had started out with. It's not, there's no wrong or right. It's just that it's different than what God wanted me to do and why I was there. So I can't be there if that's not what I'm supposed to do, because I fully know that I am always following God. I am following where God is leading me. So when God tells me, hey, go this way, I'm going that way. When God tells me go that way, I'm going that way, because I've learned when I don't like it. I really don't. I hurt money. I've been in crazy ass relationships, almost died a few times. No, we not doing that. We've been there, done that. Got the t-shirt, got like the little spoon, I got a keychain. I'm good. Thank you so much. If I had kept ignoring the wisdom from my body, from my experiences, clearly God was telling me, oh, you're just gonna be doing people pleasing. You're going back into the people pleasing and choosing other people over yourself. You can do that, but choose differently. Like, you want to see something different in your life, choose something different. So I had done that all my life, choose other people, just because, I couldn't see the way forward. I chose the way that looked sure. So though it felt so painful and devastating and really sad, honestly, I ultimately was shown this place is no longer in alignment for me. This is no longer where I'm meant to be. So it's no longer in alignment for me, what I came here to do, and it was time to leave and regroup. And when you honor your intuition, you're not being emotional, you're being energetically intelligent. And that's what was happening for me. So, how do we embody the sacred feminine daily? So let's bring this down from the clouds into our daily practice, because embodiment is a lifestyle, not a trend. So one way you could do that is by moon journaling, using the moons to journal. If you're not a daily journaler, that's fine. I really find the benefit of writing. I don't necessarily do it every day because I don't feel led to. Again, I work how I'm working. But when I do feel like, let me just tap in, let me write these things down. So do that. So this is a way to do it when you're not a daily journaler. So we have a new moon and a full moon. And each of those moons offers the opportunity for us to reflect on what we're being called to call in and what we're being called to release. So on the new moon, you are intending. What are you intending? What am I releasing? What am I intending so that I can see the fullest fruition of it on the full moon? So you're looking at, you can what the moons are about, because it naturally happens anyway, because this is an energetic game we're playing down here on this planet, whether we like it or not. We're energetically, the things end up happening anyway. Like these last moons have been all about deep-seated things coming up, being released, being shown, so things that you thought you got over, things you thought you dealt with are all coming up, because there's aspects of it that you haven't. So that is coming up so that you can now, okay, what do I want to let go of and what do I want to call in and bring in? So you can ask yourself, what cycle am I in? What am I being asked to surrender? And what am I asked to birth? If journaling is not your thing, you can do mirror work. I love looking in the mirror now. I used to not like it, but now I love looking in the mirror, and every time I look in the mirror, I'll be like, oh girl, you just get better and better. Why you just keep getting better and better? Oh my gosh, you're getting younger and younger. And I look into my eyes and I tell myself, I love you. I don't know. I'm laughing because I just hear this Southern belle coming, and I'm like, where are you coming from? But I just look into my eyes every morning and affirm, I love you. Honor the divine within me. I am both soft and strong. And say what feels good to you, as long as it's not your inner critic speaking. We want you to speak in love to yourself. And even if it has to start with, my eyebrows don't look so bad today. My edges are pretty good. Like, start with something that you can say that to yourself, and look in your eyes and just speak to you. Love on you for just a moment. So, if that feels weird to you, you can choose to do some sensual movement. Like I said, moving your body. It's so amazing. So, at bare minimum, once a week, Turn on a song that moves your soul, that whenever you hear it, you can't help but get up. You can't help but move. Don't judge the song. Just get up. Do what feels good. It's not for a workout, but it's as a worship of your body. Let your body lead you to how it wants to move. Don't have anything set up in your brain. Just let your body lead the way. Let your body tell you what it needs in that moment, and just connect in with yourself. Find sisterhood and safe spaces. So if you don't have one, create one. And the sacred feminine really thrives in community. Well, all of us, right? And that's why we each have the divine feminine and divine masculine within, because we each have those aspects. So we need community. There's a part of us that needs to communicate, that needs to commune, and find a circle of women who remind you of your power, not your pain, who are not like trauma bonding over like, well, ooh, girl, this is what I'm going through in my man. Well, shoot, girl, I could top you. I'm doing this. No. Who will uplift you? Who can you get together with and you can just have an uplift fest? Whether that's your soul sisters, your coaching clients, or spaces like the Love Alliance, the community, is where we remember we are never truly. And let's just pause and reflect. How can I create one small sacred practice this week to honor my feminine energy? And it could be even you just dressing up for yourself. Sometimes I put on my jewelry and stuff and feminine. Just for me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going from here to the front door. Maybe I might walk up the block and come back, but I'm not really doing anything that I need to be dressed up for. But it makes me feel good. So I'm going to do it. Beautiful soul, my invitation to you is your sacred feminine is not weakness. She is your superpower. She is the breath between your words, the pause before your yes or your no, the intuition that knows even when logic can't explain. When you honor her, you don't become less, you become whole. So this week, I invite you to listen, to slow down, to nurture your body, your pleasure, your voice, your cycles, because she's rising in, through you, as you, and the world needs your radiance. If this episode stirred up something in you, take a screenshot, tag me at More With V, and share how you're reclaiming your sacred feminine power today. And if you're ready to go deeper, check out my Unleash Your Inner Badass, where we fuse intuition, embodiment, and power, because leadership begins with wholeness. Also, we have the Love Alliance, where we are spiritual beings that have been, I like to call it spiritual refugees. When we left the confines of organized religion and we still want to have a space of community and of spirituality, we commune together on this awakening journey to lift each other up, to be our accountability, to be our remembrance, and to be the support and love. So come and join us if this speaks to you. But until next time, stay soft, stay sovereign, and stay sacred. Thank you for